All right, beautiful. Welcome everybody to this Animal Wisdom Mastery Hour. This I'm super excited about, and it's so fun. It's something that I used to do and present special topics around animal communication, animal wisdom, animal insights. And I'm really excited to start it again because one, it is a way that I can serve. Two, it is a way that you all can step into growing in your confidence and your identity as animal communicators, people who want to become animal communicators, and people who want to impact the world through helping animals, helping people, helping for more peace and joy and all kinds of things that animals teach us around our lives and how to live, right? And I call these animal wisdom mastery hours because it's not just limited to animal communication, right? It's really about animals teach us with their wisdom. They teach us how to communicate with them better. They show us that they want to be partners with us. And this is all animals, not just our companion animals. The wild animals want to partner with us too because they love this planet. They have a life that they love and they want to live. But they also show us how to live our lives more fully, more balanced, more expansively, and more spiritually, right? Like show of hands, like the more that you have learned and discovered about being close and oneness with animals and learning about their wisdom and how to live your life, who has experienced more joy and ease and peace and spiritual growth? Like, hello, double hands. Where are my feet? I have my feet in there too, like it just is. They've got the secret. So I plan to have more calls like this on topics of interest related to animal communication, life with interspecies awareness, living a purpose-filled life by following your calling to show up and serve, by helping animals be understood, by practicing your special gifts of healing or coaching or whatever it is. And then also special topics related to professional animal communication. So I feel like there is just such a cool and wonderful place for everyone here. So how does this sound to you? Thumbs up. Yay.
Sounds great.
Okay. If you have topics that you want covered, if you have topics that you want to dive into, please feel free to send them to me. You can shoot me an email. You can message me on Messenger. Just, I want to teach it. I want to give it to you. So feel free to reach out and ask. So that being said, the topic for today, and I'll just invite everybody again, if you can, come on to camera because it's warm and cozy and fun. As long as you're not walking around, or actually even if you are walking around. This is really informal today, but I have formal things to give you. So the topic for today is on tools and techniques for better communication between you and your own animal family. And this is a topic I wanted to start with because it really hits home for everyone who has an awareness around animal communication. So just give me a thumbs up, show of hands if this is a topic that shows up in your own household, right? You're really good at understanding other people's animals, really good at, you meet an animal, you're like, oh, he's this, he feels this, but your own, you sit there like with this blank, what are you telling me, right? And I want to tell you, I want to give you permission to not make this an ish, right? I have a sticky note that I love, and keep it right here, and it says, drop the ish, okay? I want to don't let this be a defining topic for you. Don't let this play out as being hard for you, because it's easier than you know. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's actually happening, that you are understanding animals clearly, your own animals clearly. It's that you're not aware of it. And I'm going to talk about why in a minute. When there is something that feels when there, and this could be anything, when there is something that feels hard, we have in some way a resistance to it. Okay. I think about learning math, right? It can feel really hard for me. It did feel really hard for me in school because I had a resistance to it because someone told me it was hard. That was my mother. And the people who were really, really good at math, they weren't like me. I was different than them. So that was my resistance, right? But as an older person, like I love math. My kids' math. I sit down and I love getting into it and they can't stand it. But it's our own resistance when something feels hard. Okay. And that might feel like, yeah, Kristen, but I promise you, it is a resistance that does not need to be there. It's a resistance that it's not real. All right. And that's the same with you understanding your own animals or you advancing your skills in animal communication altogether. There is a resistance. And I want to help you, support you in giving yourself permission to release the resistance. Don't let this define you. I've heard people say, I really get a lot of information from other people's animals I don't know, but I don't get anything from my own. And every time that you say that out loud, what does that do?
Reinforces the belief. Yeah.
Completely reinforces the belief in your own subconscious mind. Like, so not even here, but down here, right? In your own subconscious mind, it reinforces it energetically, right? You're saying that out to the universe as well. So drop the statement about it, drop the issue about it. Let it finish. So that's the first reason why it can be difficult is we have resistance to what might be coming in. Or as simple as you've heard someone else say, it's really easy to talk to animals. It's not so easy with your own, right? I've heard that. I think I probably said that. So I'm retracting it. The other reason that it can feel difficult to understand what your own animals are feeling and thinking and saying and wanting to give you is that you have an attachment. We have an attachment to what is going on for them, right? We have an attachment to being the good animal person, right? Family member who understands what they're trying to tell us. Like if I don't understand my kids, I feel bad about that, right? I try to make that better. When we don't understand our animals, that can feel like we're not showing up, we're not enough. And that's uncomfortable. We want them to be happy. We want to meet their needs. Or we have an attachment to what it is that they're saying. And this takes two forms, right? What it is that they want us to understand. It takes two forms. Either we are afraid to really take in what it is that they are expressing, what they want us to understand or what they're experiencing. Either we're afraid to take it in because it might be around pain or being unhappy. And that would mean that, well, we're afraid to find out or that we would need to change. And not meaning change necessarily like their routine or their food. That stuff can be easy. It's about changing us. That's where the real resistance is we have to change ourselves. And changing ourselves meaning be ready for a new level of understanding, be ready for a new level of who we are showing up in that beautiful, profound relationship with this animal. So does this make sense? Is this making sense for people?
Mhm.
Yeah. If you guys have questions, I'm just going to pull up the chat too. If you have questions and you want to type a question into the chat, and then how we're going to do this today, I'm going to teach you a little bit more on why and some tools and some tips. And then I want to open up for questions and Q&A discussion on this topic and any other topic that comes to you. Okay. But if you have something specifically, type it in the chat and I'll catch it as I'm going here. There are universal laws that everything here on this beautiful, in this whole universe are governed by. And one of them is the law of least resistance. And I just want to say, if you have background noise, if you just want to mute your phone, that would be great. Or your whatever you are on. And the law of least resistance means that um, just like water, right? Just like wind, it's going to find the easiest path. Everything is going to find the easiest path. And the other side of that law is that what we resist persists, right? When we say, you see the mosquito flying around and you know that it's going to bite you, it's going to, you're like, no, 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 no. And you focus on it, you focus on it, you focus on it. You can't get anything else done. You're focusing on what you don't want and it's happening. And sure if it comes over as soon as you stop focusing on it and the mosquito stings you or whatever they do, they draw your blood, right? If we're focusing on it, we are causing it to persist. So back to drop the ish, drop having an issue with communicating with your own animals. Just really don't focus on it and let it go. All right. Knowing too that there's a lot of help for you to get feedback and reinforcement around what you're understanding from your animals. You have people in your world. I am here to help you. There are animal communicators, lots of animal communicators in the world now. You can get reinforcement, but by perpetuating your own resistance or feeling like you're not doing it well enough, you are actually creating the symptoms. You're creating that outcome yourself. So the law of least resistance and what we resist persists. Okay. Any questions on that? Any thoughts on that? No. So how I explain this, and some of you may have heard this from me before, is that our familiarity, honestly, bottom line is, you know your animals so well. You already know what they are feeling and thinking and experiencing. You already do. It's in there. It's all mixed in with your own knowledge, your own experience, your own thoughts, your own sensations. And the way I love to explain this, because it clarifies it and it allows you to shift this in your own practice with your animals, is it's like being in one room, right? And you and your animals are in your home or in the barn space or wherever it is. You are in relationship with them, right? So you're in relationship with them. That's very familiar. I want you to liken it to being in a room, a small room, right? And you're there with all the air around you, right? And that air is the ether in which, like with animals, it's where we understand, it's where communication, it's where telepathy and feelings and energy lies, right? But there's also in that air, there's temperature. There's temperature, there's a quality to the air, there's humidity or lack of humidity, there's movement or a lack of movement, right? And when you are in this room and you're used to being in this room and you feel that air around you, it's just what you're used to, right? Like there could be a low hum. I have a fish tank over here that is humming all the time. I feel that vibration. I don't even pay attention to it, but people hear it. You guys can hear it. It's new to you, right? So when you're in that room with all that familiar ether around you, you don't necessarily notice the temperature until it changes, until it's different. You don't notice the humidity until it's different, right? You don't notice that there's a breeze until it's different. It's the same thing when we are in a container, a relationship of connection with our animals. We're already so immersed with them that we don't necessarily notice what a message is or what an impression is until it feels different, right? And it doesn't feel different because we're always in connection with them. Okay, so this is kind of physics. It's telepathy. It's the way it is, right? And I think, can you all feel that and notice that in your own, does it make sense for you? Like I find for me, when I want to shift something, if I can find an example or a tactile or a visual that helps me to do something different and understand it in a different way, it's super helpful for me to be able to shift my own experience. So that's why I'm giving you this example, right? And I'm just going to wrap up one thing on this example. You're in this room where things feel familiar, where the energy is familiar, where the knowledge, right, is in the room, same as your relationship with your animal. If I'm in this room and I open the window and I allow new air to come in, a new current of air, a breeze, or the humidity from outside to come in, I'm like, oh, there's a novel feeling. There's a novel impression. Take that to your relationship with your animal, right? This is why you don't notice your own animal's communication so much sometimes, but you bring a new animal in, you open the window, right? Who you're not used to, who you don't know, and their energy comes in and it feels like, ooh, I can feel them. I can understand them easily because you're not so used to it. It's not the same love and feeling and understanding that you're breathing in and experiencing every single day. And this concept, I get teary when I think about it this way, right? Like I get teary because it's so beautiful, because really it affirms how connected you are with your own animals. And I really want to give that to you. I want to give you permission to feel successful, to know already that you are understanding your animals. It's just you're not discerning what is theirs and what is yours, what is new, what is novel. All right. And that can change. You can change that. And I'm going to give you some tools and tips on how to do that. Any questions or thoughts so far? Let's make this interactive. Feel free. You guys are so quiet. I'm surprised. All right. No thoughts, no questions. Everybody's quiet. It's okay.
I was trying to unmute for like 30 seconds. Um,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
so I just really resonate with what you're saying. And when I started working with you and taking classes for animal communication, I felt that resistance initially talking to my own animals. And I think a lot of us were saying something like that, this same kind of thing. And then I remember I just started, I would always start like chatting with them out loud with my animals, like, hey, how are you today? I had a rough day. And it sort of, it happened very naturally without me having that resistance, because we were having this out loud conversation like I would with another person.
Mm.
And it seemed to help me a lot. So I just wanted to share that.
I love it, Sophia. And Sophia, I want to say to you that you have done just a beautiful example. You are a beautiful example of really opening up and dropping the resistance to understanding your animals. You know, I've known you a long time. I hear
Mhm.
how you understand your animals, and you've really dropped the ish. Yeah, you know, you saw it and you let it go. So
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Nicole, did you want to say something? I saw your hand like that. I don't know. I can ask you to unmute. Did it go?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm a little slow. I'm learning here. Bear with me. So, I've been working on this for quite some time by myself, and I've had various animals that have come in to help me with this. And I had one horse at a time, and he was, unfortunately I didn't have him long enough because he passed, but he was very clear. I mean, he was very, very loud and clear. And I was like, whoa, okay. I got like, okay, well, you're gonna be the teacher. Okay. Thanks, dude. Right. And I just know like how confident and sure, like his name was Easy, ironically. Easy. I was so like, okay, Easy, you're making this like, thanks. Like, I feel like so like, oh, I'm on it. I can hear it. Like, there's no question, no resistance. There was no, can I or can I? How do I get to that? Like, can I ask him somehow to come back from his pasture in the sky and help me? Like, is that a weird question?
It's not a weird question. It's a beautiful question. Nicole, I'm going to ask you, I will answer that question for you. What do you feel is the answer to that?
I feel like he's been waiting.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. That answer is within you. And
Mhm.
I will absolutely affirm that, absolutely, trust that he's been waiting.
Mhm.
I'm not feeling that from him right now. I'm just saying, trust yourself on that. This
Yeah.
is what animals do. They wait, and they show up over time. They're here to help us, and they can help us from the other side. They can help us from spirit. Absolutely. Um, so yes, I agree with you. It's absolutely possible. And it's actually something, this is one of the strategies, is replaying a time. Well, two things. Asking an animal teacher to support you is a strategy. Asking an animal teacher who really made an impact on you to support the growth that they brought for you or that they witnessed for you, with you, along your journey is absolutely appropriate. There's a whole bunch of ethics around communicating with animals who are no longer ours, right, in our care, custody, and control. However, my belief and my practice and what I teach my students and others is that that animal has free will to teach us, right? And by not about what they're doing now, not about, hey, how did you feel about your second person you lived with after you left me? Like, that's none of our business. However, them continuing to be your teacher on your spiritual journey is absolutely a-okay and appropriate. And what does it do for them? What does it do for Easy as spirit, Easy, to be able to support you becoming more of who you are and who you're meant to be? Right? Like, holy crap, that's fulfillment for him. You know what I mean? So yeah, yeah. And this is something some of you may have be doing already, but this is one of the techniques that you can do is before you sit down to communicate with any animal, right? Just ask and say, hey, can you support me? Will you support me and help me open to be able to feel what is necessary to feel what needs to be felt, hear what needs to be heard, understand what needs to be understood, and then get yourself out of the way. Stop resisting and trust. Trust what you get. Is that helpful, Nicole?
Yes, I just yeah, because of the ethics thing, I didn't know if that was appropriate, because I'm still learning that as well. But yeah, I just remember myself in the driveway and I was like, oh, so this is how it's gonna be. Like, you're gonna just
Yeah.
show, like, you're so clear, such
Yeah.
a clear communicator. And yeah, I feel like I've been trying to get back to that feeling, you know?
Well, this is really interesting. Yes, beautiful. And animals are all clear communicators, right? It's about how we are in like vibration with them,
Mhm.
right? So you and Easy have a thing, which is cool, right? I have a thing with some of my animals more than others, like, and you guys can all relate to that too. Like, there's a thing, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's here to teach us and let us know what is possible with every other being on the planet, right? Like, my animals have taught me how to relate to the people, the humans I love, in a clearer, better way, because I can feel what it feels like to understand those beautiful animals easily, right? Like Charlotte, some of you know Charlotte, she walks around my desk and she walks on my keyboard and growls at me if I move in my chair, but like, she and I are like this, peanut butter and jelly. I know what she's feeling, how she's, no matter where she is. And that tells me that it's possible to have that with every other animal too. I just need to find their vibration, right? I just need to allow myself to let go, right? To release my expectations, release my attachments, release my judgment of myself and who I think I'm being, all the ish, right? Good enough, not good enough, better at this with this one, better at that, like, stop and just be. And the evidence that you have that communication with Easy is evidence that you can do that again. You can replicate that again. All right. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I want to speak just to the ethics on this too, because it is important, but I really believe strongly too in when it is appropriate. So my horse Woody, who is in spirit, he's been in spirit for many years now. He was just a profound teacher to so many of my students, some of you, I'm sure. And he over time has come to people, and students have asked me, former students have asked me, geez, I really feel this connection with Woody, and I feel like he can help me, in whatever it is that they're going through in their own life, because he was such a teacher. And, they'll say, is it okay if I tune in with him? And I'm like, listen, he is your teacher in that regard for you. I don't need to be the middleman on that. If you want to ask him about his life with me, or ask him about what he's doing and what he wants in his, next life and all that, that's none of your business, right? But his business with you, and if he's helping you and coaching you and guiding you and mentoring you on your spiritual path, have at it. It's beautiful, right? He's a free being. I'll speak to one beautiful, sweet animal family member. Gertrude is a guinea pig, and she's now in spirit. And she came through to one of my former students as just like such a big influence and teacher. And she pops in, and she like gives her these breakthroughs that are really, really beautiful. And that is not mine to hold, right? That's between them. So if you're asking them about, where they're coming back as, or what they're doing now, or how happy they were with me, what they liked about Kristen, or living with Kristen and her kids, that's that's unethical. But for you, absolutely, So I just hope, Nicole, that supports you in inviting Easy into your life to be a guide and a teacher.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and this topic makes me cry too. It's so beautiful. Very cool. So, and just raise your hand if you guys have things you want to say or ask or whatever. And I'm just looking at time. Oh, good. We're doing great on time. Cynthia, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious listening to this whole exchange, because I relate in terms of the trio, and just listening to Nicole talk about Easy. I guess part of me would have, if he was that strongly understood by her and communicating with her before he left, I would have kind of guessed that would still absolutely continue without her doing anything different. Does that make sense? That Easy would still have continued to be there.
Mhm.
And it sounds like that isn't exactly what her experience is, or maybe she hesitated to connect because
I
she
think I
wasn't sure if it was
hesitated.
okay.
Yeah, I think I hesitated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
And so you can let that hesitation go.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to invite everybody here. We're talking about dropping our own ish. Isn't that funny? ISH. Who knew that ISH could mean so much? It means a lot of things. But dropping our own resistance and giving ourselves permission to be who we want to be, to have it go how we would love it. Right? Like, think about what you would love. And let yourself have it. When we bump into resistance, the way to get out of resistance is to immediately notice and then say, what would I love? What would I love instead? Oh, I would love easy flowing communication with so-and-so. My son. Mine's the kid, the soon to be 19-year-old kid right now. We're kind of experiencing some changes in temperature. So it helps me to be able to laugh about that, because it really relates, right back to this. If I can be seamless and constantly loving with animals, then it's possible for him too, right? You know, and I always love him. And
Of course.
we're two humans in our humans going through our human thing, you know? And that's the thing too, right? We are humans. Animals are animals, but they don't have all the human drama, human stuff, human resistance, human self-judgment. That's the biggest one, is the lack of self-love, the lack of worthiness, right? And because animals don't have that, they don't get it. They can see it in us and they can tell us about how it's working for us or hindering us or whatever. But when we drop that, then we show up with the animals in like complete connection. And I have no issue doing that with animals, right? But all the stuff, like I'll just be really transparent, like with my son, you know, if I respond like this, then he judges me like that, and I judge him like this, and you know, so there's all that. Our humans are acting out and resisting what doesn't need to be there, you know? And so, caveat, this is the super powerful information that animals teach people. This is why being animal communicators, and I say it's great to learn this as a life skill. It's wonderful to do this with your own animals, but getting the word out to help other people through this stuff, this is how it helps them. Does that make sense? All right, so many good things coming up. This is great. So I want to give you some, well, before I move into that, we kind of covered why it can feel, we can have resistance to communicating with the animals. I just want to ask, are there any other questions about why that it can show up this way, why it can be this way? And then I'm going to talk about what to do about it. Some things you can put into place. Other questions about why? Okay. So, just don't let this define you, or don't let that identity of being someone who can easily feel other people's animals, but that you have trouble understanding and feeling your own. Don't say it ever again. Don't let it define you. And just really let it go. One of the things I do sometimes when I open circles, and Lori and Sophia and Beth, you guys know this, is the rose clearing. And we go through a real brief meditation around identifying things in our energy that no longer serves us, and then actually taking them, identifying them either with a darker color or a certain vibration or something, and then actually taking them and lifting them out of our energy, right? And whatever it might be, it could be a sore throat, you throw that out, right? It could be just an identifying that I don't let myself really go into understanding animals, right? Like that might be there for you. And then you just pick it up and you toss it out, you put it over there. And then this big sun above, and there's this beautiful flower, and it just dissolves the flower with the thing in it. It's a really beautiful meditation. But anyway, whatever works for you, if you have a practice around that, intentionally letting these things go can be really, really helpful. These pieces of ourselves that we might have identified with or identified ourselves as prior, can let that go. Any forgiveness practice, ho'oponopono, right? Forgiving yourself for the resistance and not understanding or believing that you don't understand because it's not true, right? That's another strategy or practice that you can use. I love ho'oponopono. Cutting energy cords, right? And you can do this simple little exercise with yourself and the old beliefs, right? You can do it on paper too. You can, I'll explain the paper one, right? Like you can put the beliefs about yourself that you have that you want to keep, and then the beliefs about yourself that aren't serving you that you don't want to keep, and write them on two separate sides of the paper, and then cut the paper and burn it up, right? Like that's a physical representation of doing that emotionally, intellectually, mentally, spiritually. And you can also do that with just your own, in a meditation with yourself, kind of having your other self over there, your former self, right? Who you're not going to be after this moment in time, and releasing those things. and just identifying them there and then cutting the cord. Like, I no longer let that be a part of me. It's not my experience. So those are some simple personal practices that you can incorporate. Do any of those resonate for you, or does anybody have something different that you use that works for you?
I love and I can never pronounce it, the Ho'oponopono. I can never pronounce it, but I love it, and I find it a very powerful technique or modality or something to use. And sometimes what I actually do is before I sit or before I want to practice or have a client, or even with my animals, if I'm having a really bad fuzzy day, I just like to sit, breathe it out, and just hold. I sort of see myself suspended between the earth and sky, so I can find my balance and the center of gravity. And I find that really helps me center myself.
Nice. Beautiful, Sophia. I have a little trick for you, and this goes back to my speech language pathologist days. If there's ever a word that you cannot say, you say it starting with the last syllable first. So no, pono, oponopono, ho'oponopono. And you break it up like that, and you'll never say it wrong again.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah. Write it out and just break it down. Say it. It's so funny.
Backwards. Okay. I like that.
Tricks from the trade. I used to help kids who had apraxia, dyspraxia, to say words that were complex like that. So.
Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah. Let it be simple. We can over intellectualize this process, but we can really let it be simple. You're allowed to let it be simple. Like, wouldn't that just be so fantastic? if you let it be easy like brushing your teeth, easy like breathing, easy like opening the window, So I want to get into some tools and techniques that you can put into place to feel this with your own animals and to start to develop that feeling of feeling their energy as fresh and new. And not only after, like, there's been a huge shift, right? Like, it's easy to, it can be more obvious when an animal has, had a decline in health, or they're really acting off, to say, ooh, something's going on here. And then we're attached to what it could be. And then that's where the resistance comes. But the seamless day-to-day communication, you don't have to wait for that big shift, because those big shifts, that's like, oh, there's somebody opened a window. I'm feeling something different here, but it can be even available to you without having that big shift. So one of the first things, and some of you may do this already, is sit down and actually write a letter to your animal friends. Sit down and actually write it out, and hey, I love you so much, all the things you want to tell them, and then all the things that you wonder about. I wonder how you're feeling, and I wonder how you are feeling about your food. I wonder if you need more enrichment in your life, right? Like, write out all of the things that you wonder and you want to understand more clearly. And then you're going to flip the paper over or get a new piece of paper and lean back in your chair and write on the paper what your animal friend says back to you, without any censorship, without any second guessing, and no thinking. Take your brain out and put it over there. And just let it flow. And remember, don't criticize and judge yourself. Like this, nobody else is going to see this. Be kind to yourself. Trust that you do this. Trust that this is easy. Trust that your animal wants you to get it, and that they can infuse your thoughts and feelings and impressions, ideas in that moment so easily. They do it all the time. Allow it, and just let your hand go and write it all out. and then sit back and read it and really take it in. Okay. I love that. I absolutely love that. This is another way to use this. Is a super easy way to develop clarity. It's a super easy way to get our own selves out of the mix, right? And stop the critical voice and the self-judgment, right? Because as you're writing, if you're really stepping in and practicing this exercise, you would never say, oh, that's not true, or oh, come on, it's got to be something other than that. You would never say that to your animal, right? If your animal was telling you something, you wouldn't say, what the heck are you talking about? You know, I mean, you would just accept. So this, I love, love, love this practice. And I will share this with you too. If anybody has, and we all do, because we're in our humans, right? We're in our earth suits, issues with the body, right? Issues about our, whatever, our health or our appearance or our shape, or how a body, I really struggled with my shoulder this year. Oh my gosh, I felt broken for the longest time, and I couldn't understand it because I've never had an issue, never had an ish with my physical body. And boy, have I. And I've applied this technique of writing to my body and letting my body know how I feel about it and what I wonder about it, and then having my body write back to me and tell me what she wants me to know. That was eye-opening. So if anybody has body-ish, physical-ish, practice that there too. It's super powerful. I love that one. You could make that a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever practice. Like you could just do that on every Saturday morning and think of what a beautiful spiritual practice that is too, right? Like you could add that to your weekend routine, self-care, you know, with the animals and your body if you want to do it that way. But, you know, with the animals, like what a beautiful spiritual practice that supports your self-care. I love that one. So that's a tool, is writing the letter. The other one, what I love this because as I was explaining about how the temperature feels kind of the same, right? Like, and some of you have multiple animals, some of you have no animals, some of you have, you know, one. It doesn't matter how many or even if they're in spirit. Increasing your sensitivity to your sensation, your sensitivity, your ability to sense that animal's essence. When you're so familiar with them, we often just override it, you know? And so in allowing yourself to feel them in a different way. And I do this, and I teach this by coaching people to sit in whatever room and let the animals be wherever they are. And you can even put on a piece of paper. I do this sometimes. Put on a piece of paper, well, I'll just tell you, I'm not going to draw it, each animal's name and with a circle around their name. So it's kind of like this little map that you have, right? And what it does is you put your hand over a certain animal's name and it's an instant connection. And all you're doing is feeling their essence. That's all you do. And it doesn't matter where they are in the house. You are there in that room with them, either in spirit or in the home with you, or they're at the barn. It doesn't matter. They're in your energy field. This is your own animals. By just kind of intensifying that connection by putting your hand over their name or thinking about them or feeling them in your heart. And then you're not asking them any weighted questions or really things you want to know, right? Because there's attachment there. You're just practicing feeling their essence. And you might feel it as a certain temperature. You might feel it as a certain emotion, right? You might feel their emotion. You might feel your own emotion about them, whatever. You might just notice what you notice and let that be true. Let that just be there. Let it be. And then to take it a step further, you can even try to get a sense of where they might be you're sitting with your eyes closed, where they might be in relation to you. They might be above you in an upstairs bedroom, right? They might be at the barn out in the pasture, you might just get a sense of that. But having that, your hand over their name, you'll feel that. And then what you do, you thank them. And you can even just kind of clear the connection and then go to another animal. Put your hand over another animal and just notice the difference. The whole concept here is noticing the difference in the essence, the energy, the sensation between yourself and this animal, and then yourself and another animal, and the difference between that animal and that animal. And when I say difference, I don't mean better, worse. I don't mean more or less. I just mean different. Does that make sense? I'm worried I'm making it more confusing than it has to be. But I love this practice. Love, love, love. And for those of you who do this work professionally, when you're working with a family of animals, I draw that map out for myself. I have each animal in a circle with their name, their age. I might, like write, he's a tabby and she's a golden retriever or whatever, but so that it's a marker. And it's a real easy way to shift the connection and notice the difference easily when you're working with a group. So does that apply for anybody? Does that feel like something that you could apply in your own, working with your own animals, and how it can help you? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Good. Great. Another, and okay, all right. I just have two more quick strategies, and then I want to open it up for Q&A about anything, this or another topic, it doesn't matter. Is that because sometimes we're attached to whatever the outcome may be, or it might be something we don't want to hear, and that doesn't even have to be on a conscious level, really. Like you don't even have to be consciously aware that you're resisting. Write out your worst case scenario. Sometimes this comes up around, I call it like minor catastrophizing, like whether it's a health issue, or I'm not going to be able to meet their needs, or somebody at doggy daycare is beating them up, or whatever, like kind of the worst case scenario. Write it all out, what you think is possibly, that thing that you, worst case, or what you're afraid of, or what feedback you might get from them, and just like write it all out and really acknowledge this is my fear. Some of it might be there, I don't know, but I'm getting it off of our shared connection. I'm getting it off of our wavelength, and crumple it up, throw it away, shred it, burn it, whatever, and let it go. Bless and release those fears. I'm not saying that some of it isn't there, that those reasons that there may not be an issue that your animal has that's real. I'm not saying that I am saying that you may be picking up on it already, which is why you're afraid about it, right? Which is why it's coming to you. It's just that it's popping in as fear because you're resisting it, right? Because when you really take it in, rather than resisting, that's when we can do something with it. So it's a gift to receive it. It's a gift to get it, but you got to clear the fuzz and buzz out first. I think of it, I hate playing baseball. I never liked it. I can't catch to save my life. Right. And I would sit there and I would resist trying to catch that ball, and then, oh my God, and it would hit my thing and hit me in the face, and all the resistance. Right. And as soon as I just said, I don't care, I don't have to play baseball like this, I never did it again, and I don't have to worry about it. Why was I showing up like that? Why was I engaging in something that it wasn't helpful? It hurt. Do you see how that practice of like kind of resisting in worst case scenario, it hurts you. It hurts your animals. It hurts your connection. It hurts your identity and self-image as an animal communicator, as someone who lives in connection with animals. So those are a handful of strategies. I hope that they're helpful. And I want to open it up right now for you to share. You guys have beautiful experiences yourselves. Ask me questions. Share what you're taking with you today. We've got about 5 minutes. And yeah. And if you don't have questions or comments, then we'll just close.
I have
just
a
want-
question.
Oh, go ahead. I don't know who was talking first.
She was.
I just quickly wanted to say that I really like the physics not explanation. I really like that concept to work with to get past thinking that you can communicate with your own animals. So that's all I wanted to say.
Lori, I just want for clarity for you and for other people, what is the physics example?
Well, when you said like talking about feeling the atmosphere and how we don't feel it as different, like when you open the window, and finding techniques to sort of differentiate between those energies.
Yeah,
I really like it because I feel like that can help me pull past that thought that I'm too invested in what I want them to say. I can see it differently and cope with it differently. So I really love that.
great. Beautiful. I'm so glad that that's helpful for you. 2 thoughts for you also. Just reminding yourself, I am not totally invested in, no, that's not what I wanted to say. Like, I'm not overly invested, inappropriately invested in what my animals say. It's easy for me to understand them, right? Like just kind of bless that and release it. The other thing is, and this brings us, if you guys are not working, this is why I think everybody needs to step out and start like doing this, if not professionally, because I don't know that everybody's cut out to do it professionally. But if you have that question in your mind and that's something that you feel drawn to do, then my God, do it. Right? Like, my God, go and help people. Whether or not you ever start a business or whatever, like the more that you work with other animals you don't know, the more you come home and you can identify a new feeling. If you've been rattling around in your own room, right, your own house with your own animals, and that's all you're practicing with, it gets really murky and confusing. So you got to get fresh connections in there. Being a professional animal communicator made me a better animal communicator. And I say that with 100% certainty. And I give it to you to pull it forward too. So, okay. Other questions? Nicole, you had one.
Yeah, it might be too lengthy for our time, but I just wonder, when you are trying to communicate with your own animal around end of life stuff, and when the animal is ill or extremely elderly, and in my situation right now, and it's like, oh, okay, we've had like we've been going like, I'm ready, and then it's like, oh, something shifts, and it's like, well, maybe not right now. For me, my cat was totally ready. I felt like she was telling me she was in the process of cutting cords. Then my brother, who I live with, got really, really ill with pneumonia. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I gotta pop back in. And she handled this. I mean, she's like Nurse Kitty. I mean, I have like pictures of him sleeping, and she's like right there, like, okay, I'm handling this. And I'm like, okay. So I mean, that was her choice. I know it's like makes me want to cry, but I'm trying to be fast and sum this up. Right now we're at a point where it's like, I feel like she's like, okay, I'm feeling toxic. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm feeling better. And we're going like this. And I want to honor our relationship of almost 22 years. But at the same time, it's like, I can't tell, like, is she really ready? Or is it just these 2 hours that she's feeling crappy? And I can't, I'm stuck. I can't tell.
Okay,
Right.
so stop right there for 1 second, Nicole. This is so beautiful and so beautifully said and done. And I'm going to ask you guys if you notice what you notice, right? You understood completely from the way you're telling what I'm feeling from you. You have clear, complete understanding of what she's feeling. It is a cycle.
Mhm.
Like there was no question, doubt in your energy when you were sharing about how she like really got on purpose with your brother, right? And I don't believe that you don't know how she feels because you just described how she feels.
Mhm.
You're telling yourself that you don't know and you're uncertain. But the certainty is that she fluctuates.
Uh-huh.
You guys see that? Did anybody else feel that in their—
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is such a beautiful example, Nicole. I'm so glad that you asked this question and you brought this up. This is a beautiful example of what everybody else does, right? Like, you know it, you feel it, you're there with it, and that, you know, and it's supposed to be something different. Like, I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to help her. This is the attachment. I'm supposed to help her through. I'm supposed to relieve her pain. I'm
Mhm.
supposed to anticipate what she needs before so that I'm a good mommy, right?
Right.
I don't, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know
No,
where that—
that's it. Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
the attachment. So when that was in the very last thing that you said, you attached to that identity of I have to be good at serving her. This is making me cry, you guys, right? And that's when you lost your footing. That's when you told yourself that you weren't doing what you want to be doing, which is understanding her completely. And the truth is, my gosh, talk to Sophia. Talk to anybody through animal passing
Yeah.
or human
No,
transitioning. It is this.
for
It
sure.
is
Like,
not—
yeah, I just went through that. Yeah, I just went through that with Trinity. So, you know, it's up and down and up and down, and you want to be sure. You want to be absolutely 200% sure you're doing the right thing for them because you love them so dearly.
And that makes it all about who?
Well, that makes it about me. Yeah,
Mhm.
as opposed to about them. Yeah.
That's right. And there's no judgment in that. I'm not saying that with any kind of judgment, right? Because you're not selfish people or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be doing this work. You wouldn't be wanting this, right? But it's the awareness of, okay, I'm attached. That's soothing your attachment is having to know. And rather than, right, like really being in communication with her is, oh, today's a shit day. Oh, yeah, gosh, you know, and then tonight, like, oh, baby, okay, you feeling better. You know, we don't have to know. And they
Mhm.
don't know. People call all the time and say, you know, how will I know when he's ready to leave? He doesn't know. He's not ready to leave. You know, he's not going to wag his tail 3 times and turn over on his right side and put his hand in the air. Like, he doesn't know. And that's okay. And all of this, guys, this is why self-development, personal development, spiritual growth is really where it's at in order to become the animal communicator that you want to be. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
The more you're aware of you, the way more you're aware of what another is going through because you're done with your own ish. You don't have to be perfect. You're perfect the way you are. Or your 22-year-old kid, he wouldn't be with you. Or Easy wouldn't have been your horse. Who
Right.
has a horse named Easy who is like the best animal teacher on the planet? Like Nicole, you're set up for success, right? So that's a beautiful question. I love it. I hope that you feel that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, the feeling, guys, and this goes back to what I was saying before, like bringing in the times that you have understood your own animal or even another animal for that matter, like a time that really you knew, you felt it, and it was, you know, you had confidence, it was affirmed, it was you know, you realize, yeah, I really got that. Like, embody that. Practice feeling what that was like. Because in that moment, right before that moment, you understood the animal. And this is where embodiment, like taking it into the human body, right? Being that person, even though we all have issue. We all have ish, we all have our humans, right? But embodying is so important. And it's one of the practices when I work with my private clients. I am asking them to work on their self-identity, work on their self-image, work on who they are. So, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I love it. I love it. So we will close here at just 4 minutes after. And that's how I will run these going forward is we'll get started by 5 minutes after because just takes a while for people to get on and I want everybody to be here. So if you have topics, questions, send them to me. I will make a mastery hour out of it. And if you want anything else, I can support you in any way, reach out, let me know. And yeah.
Our next one is going to be on the 24th next month, or?
You're so funny, Cynthia. I haven't set the date yet.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
I haven't decided if I'm doing once a month or twice a month. I mean, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. So if you have feedback and ideas and all of that, just shoot me an email. In fact, please do. Let me know what would work for you, what you need, and I'll work some magic and hope to make it happen. I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. You guys are all
Thank you, Kristen.
moment, and thank yourselves for being here.
Mm.
Thank yourselves, love yourselves, give yourselves like, yes, I'm working. I do this.
Yeah.
All right. All my love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.